Hello my friends, welcome to the Whitby Public Library's Great Create. My name is Sherry and I work with the Brooklyn branch. Today we are going to learn how to make our own beads with items and materials that you have at home. First you're going to need some paper. So you can use copy paper, but that's going to give you a very simple bead. You can use old books. You can use old magazines. You can use old gift wrap, or if you have some maybe flyers hanging around, anything that is good and it has some color on it. I am going to show you how to create the bead first on just copy paper. So you're going to take your blank paper and you're going to need a ruler, a pencil, some scissors. You're going to need straws. I'm going to show you a simple way to do these first. So we're going to use straws first. So straws, you're going to need glue. So either stick glue or white glue. And later, you're going to need some either bracelet elastic that you might have, some fishing wire, or other type of yarn or string that you might have at home. Okay? So first we're going to learn how to create the bead. You're going to take your ruler. I'm using my sewing ruler here. It's got some nice grid work on it. And you're going to mark your paper at 1 inch at the bottom. So here you're just going to mark off 1 inch. And at the top, you're going to mark off every 1/2 inch. And this is just to give us the taper for our beads. Okay, good. Now, I'm going to rotate our paper a little bit on my board. And we're going to connect that first 1/2 inch with the first inch at the bottom, like this with your pencil. And then you can shift your ruler and you're going to connect that first 1 inch to the third 1/2 inch up here. And what you get is a very long triangle. You see that? So I'm going to continue that pattern all across my paper. Now this is the pattern that you'll need for any tapered bead that you're going to make. Now the second type of bead that you can make is just a tube. And for that, all you need to do is measure out 1/2 inch or 1 inch, however wide you want your bead to be. I'm going to do inches for now, because that's what my grid is. And then at the bottom, I'm going to do 1/2 inch beads. Give those a try. And this straight line will give you a tube bead. And depending on the size of your base, will determine the length of your bead. also I have some tube lines here. Now, I'm going to use my scissors to cut some of these. So if you have scissors at home, please be careful while you're cutting. And we're just going to cut down that line. And that first one, because it was on a straight edge, isn't going to work very well. So you can put that in a recycling bin. And then this is what you have, and you've cut away. Now in the next one, we are going to have a 1-inch bead, and I'm going to cut that as well. Put that in the recycling. We'll have that bead, and then we're going to go over to this side of the paper that we had, and we're going to cut away one of the 1/2-inch beads. So whatever your design is for your bead, you can work with. So let's just move these papers to the side here, and I'll show you what that leaves us with. So we have a tube bead here. When we roll this up, it's going to become a tube. And when we roll this, a rounded bead, and when we roll this one, it's going to become a tube. So let's get our glue stick ready. And I'm going to take a couple of the straws that we have on hand. I'm just going to use one for this one. So the art of rolling a bead is to start at the very end and roll it once so that the paper meets. And then take your glue stick and roll some glue down to the end. If you don't have a glue stick at home, you can certainly use the white craft glue. I would use it with maybe a paintbrush or a glue spreader. And then you're going to carefully roll this onto the straw, and it's going to end up with tapered sides as it grows. And our bead is finished. Okay, now I'm going to put this back on here. Let's see if I can get it back in there easily. Okay, I'm not going to be able to get it back in. I'm going to do a tube bead as well, and so the same process. We're going to roll the bead onto the straw until it meets the paper again, and then we're going to take our glue stick and we're going to put some glue right out to the end, and we're going to roll that bead. And we're going to try to keep the edges nice and tight and straight so that our tube is nice and clean. And if it's a little bit off, you can pull it back and try rolling it a bit more. Try to keep them nice and tight. We're going to use the straw to start because it's a lot easier when you're learning to make the beads. And there you go. And so this is a tube bead, and it's long and it's straight, whereas our tapered bead has tapered ends. Okay. Now the reason I wanted to leave it on my straw is so that we can finish them. So let me quickly put this one on. We'll wrap this one on. And if you've drawn lines on them, draw it on the back of the good side that you need so that you can lose the lines on your pencil on there. You don't see them. And we're just going to wrap that around and around and around until it's all wrapped onto the straw. And then put a little more glue at the ends. And there you go. And that gives you a smaller tube bead, so you can decide what size you want to make. You can make them smaller than that, or you can make them longer than that. I wouldn't make them too long because, of course, you lose a little bit of the strength of the paper if they're too long. They might be able to bend. Now, to finish your beads, you're going to take some of the Podge, and I'm going to put my lid over here, and a fresh paintbrush. Now, I've got a small one here. But you're going to take some of that paint that the Podge that you have here, and you're going to just coat your beads and get nice along the seam there and finish that bead like that, so that if you're outside and it gets wet or dirty, they'll clean up nice and easy. Okay, so that's that one, and I'm going to actually take my other bead here. It's a lot easier to do this if it's already on the straw, but you're going to put a little bit of the Podge onto your bead and let it dry. Okay, so then that finishes it. Now, I have some, one of these things, I have some paper that I cut from the wrapping paper that's here, and you can see how nice and long that is. And again, I started with a 1-inch base and I cut it up to the point. So let's see what this one is going to look like, okay? Let's start rolling first. Roll first before you put any glue down, and then when the papers meet past the straw, then you can put the glue down. And you want a nice amount of glue. And it's always good to work on maybe a table that you can wipe or some newsprint or something underneath. And then we're going to roll this one. Again, you're just going to slowly roll it. And we'll see what our bead looks like when it's done. You should be able to see some of the blues and the reds and the whites when it's finished. And that'll make it really pretty. There are crafters, professional bead makers, who make absolutely gorgeous paper beads out of different types of paper that they have. If you have scrapbooking paper at home, that would make a nice bead too. So before I pull this off of here, I'm going to put a little bit of the Podge on here. And because I started with a 1-inch base on this one, it's a 1-inch bead. Okay? And I'm going to let that dry for a bit. Now, once you've finished making the beads that you want, you can try different widths, different colored paper. This one here is a 1/2 inch bead, so this is going to make a really thin paper tapered bead. And then this one has a wider base and a smaller end, so these are going to make a wider bead. And then I made a fun one here, and this one is actually going to make a bead that looks kind of like watermelon. So I put a little bit of green at the top, a little bit of white through there and pink, and then darker red down at the bottom. And that's going to be really cool. So let's give this one a try while we're here. And I made alternate with the red so that you can have different colored beads on your bracelet or necklace, whatever it is that you decide you're going to make. And I just like to keep the straws, a few straws around. But you can also use, once you get more adept at making beads, you can use bamboo skewers, or you can use toothpicks, and you can just poke them out or let them hang out at the side. Earlier I made some beads that were made out of a book, and I did them on a skewer here, and they're small beads. And you see them in my hand here? And these will make a really nice bracelet with a little bit of the print showing through. So let's give this one a try, and then let's try it on this skewer this time. So again, you want to start rolling, and then as your paper meets under the underside, then you can start putting a little bit of glue down. So I'm just going to glue it right down to the end. I'm generous with the glue so that it stays nice and well here. And we're going to roll this. And so as it rolls, you'll see that the outside is green and the inside is getting more and more pink. And let's put a little bit of the Podge on it to finish it. There it is. Now, if you wanted to be really fun, you could have put little black dots in and made it look more like watermelon, but there it is. It's pink and green and white. And we'll set that one to the side as well so that it can dry. Now, I've made a few of these beads up already. So let's have a look and see. These were some of the tube beads that I did in the colors. So there's one of the red ones, a purple one, and a green one. I like having a tray for my beads when I'm working, and this I just picked up at the dollar store. These are taper beads. I've got some that are bigger, and I have some that are little. And I just use the straw on these ones so that it's going to be easy to thread later. And then if you have extra beads at home, you can certainly add some extra beads in. I just found these at the dollar store as well. Now, I am a crafter, so I keep a lot of craft supplies around at home, which is fortunate for me. But I have some of the bracelet elastic that you can use. And I'm just going to cut a length about 10 inches. My wrist isn't 10 inches long, but I'm going to give that a go. And I really like this new purple, blue and red bead that we made from the wrapping paper. So I'm going to put that one in there first. Now, I like to be symmetrical, but you can do your pattern any way you like. So then I'm going to put a bead on either side of that one. And we're going to string a bracelet. Now, if you want to make a necklace, of course, you're going to need to make more beads. So let's see here. And there's my first bead on my bracelet. Now, what would I like next? I think I'm going to try some of the little yellow ones that I made earlier on this. They're already dry. And there's some more of my bracelet. So now I'm going to put a purple bead on, and I dropped all my beads. So let me get those back together here. And back to our yellow bead and then another purple bead. And there's our bracelet so far. So I'm going to try some of my little beads that I made earlier with the paper from the book. And again, I'm going to put another purple bead in on either side. And I'm going to measure to see how big this is, because my wrist is about 6.5 inches. So I need to make sure that I have about 6.5 inches. So I'm just about 5 inches now. So I think I'm going to use the white beads that I made earlier too. And that will give me, I think, about enough to go around. Now, because I like to be symmetrical, on one end, I'm going to put a purple bead. And I'm going to finish it by tying it up. And so far, there's my bracelet. And I'm going to put a purple bead on one end, and that will be my last bead. And I'm going to just pull a little bit, and I'm going to tie it. And this means, with the elastic, it means I'll be able to just slip it on and off. Now, if you don't have elastic at home, just give yourself a little bit more than your wrist so that you'll be able to get it over your hand, but it won't go flying off your wrist. Okay? And then we're going to tighten that. Now, if you have some glue, you can always put a drop of glue in here. I'm just going to wipe some of that Podge on here. It's not as strong, but I try, when I'm crafting at home, I tend to use crazy glue on my knots. So there's my bracelet, and I'll be able to slip it over my wrist, and ta-da! It's all done. So if you want to make a necklace, you're going to need to make a few more beads. If you want to make gifts for friends or have a beading party, that would be really fun too. You can have each of your friends do a different type of bead, and then you could put them together and make your own bracelets. I hope you had fun today. I hope I taught you something new. Please, thank you so much for joining us. Follow us on social media or visit us at whitbylibrary.ca for more of our programs and information. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye.